everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Smash Dispatch podcast. As always, I'm one of yours, Fidel. Joined along beside me, Mr. Ultimate Shadow X.
Hello, hello.
What's poppin'? How are you?
Good. I mean, we got there were a lot of cool gaming announcements yesterday, and we got this bombshell that we're gonna discuss on today's episode, as you could probably already tell.
Yeah,
so.
It's crazy because it's very rare that there's a bombshell news announcement for fighting game community as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. There's obviously when companies have new games coming out, there's always discussion, etc. But this is Evo is the tournament for so many people and has such a big legacy. So it's really exciting to see what they've announced, basically.
Yeah, because obviously, so for those of you that don't know, basically, what happened is Evo, the rights to Evo was purchased by PlayStation. Now we're gonna get into all the details, all the stuff, and all this stuff, but that's the main thing, that Evo, the license to it basically was purchased by PlayStation. PlayStation now owns it. It's part of their family and stuff. And yeah, this is a big deal, because again, like we said, we often have news about certain fighting games or fighting game announcements or DLC, but it's very rare that there's things that partake the entire FGC as a whole, because Evo is such an important part of FGC. It's one of the biggest tournaments in just video games in general.
It's like the world championship for so many people, right?
Yeah,
exactly. It's got that big legacy.
Yeah.
And I think it is a very big bombshell, because Evo went quiet following what happened last year. People don't know what happened last year. First, it was going to be online only, obviously, because of COVID. So there was a lot of discussion there. And then one of the founders, Mr. Wizard, was included with the big scandal going on with a lot of sexual abuse, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So he's out, he's long gone. And Tony Cannon, who was also one of the founders, he was trying to restructure it, but after following what happened with Mr. Wizard, it kind of just went silent. We didn't really know what was going to happen. We knew probably it'd come back in some capacity, but we really didn't know. This announcement that PlayStation and Sony have acquired Evo was very much out of nowhere for a lot of people. This is the first time we heard recently of Evo, and they come back with an announcement like this.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely crazy in that way of it's such a big deal. It's gonna change a lot of things. It's gonna my first reaction, before we get into all the Smash stuff in general,
specifics,
just the specifics. I do think I think this is ultimately, as for the fighting game scene as a whole, it's a big deal, because now they have way more money. Now PlayStation can even help fund, because if you look at a lot of the big fighting games, especially the Japanese ones, a lot of them are PlayStation/PC exclusive. Guilty Gear Strive is PC, PlayStation.
There aren't really that many games besides Killer Instinct that are this is exclusively for Xbox, and it's between PlayStation and PC. And so, I mean, it's not that's it makes sense for Sony to invest in, but I also think for a lot of fighting games in general, they are on a game-to-game, publisher-to-publisher basis on their events. You have the Arxis World Tour. Dragon Ball FighterZ has its own thing that Bandai Namco sponsors. Capcom has its own Capcom Cup that it sponsors. But this is one of the pillars of just PlayStation. Is one of the big three of the console. And they are directly investing in fighting games. That's never been done before. It's never been done before. And it almost makes me wonder, did Sony do this despite Nintendo specifically? Because if you remember, you think about how there was so much clamoring, after the fallout, everything that happened in the Smash community, there was a lot of clamoring with Nintendo sponsored tournaments, which we will discuss in more detail. But Nintendo's always been very back that they'll either they're very hands off with the tournament community. They only really sponsor events in the sense of okay, we'll let you play our game. Right. You know what I mean? In that sort of sense. So I almost feel this is Sony picking up a space that Nintendo and Microsoft haven't really invested in. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's weird again, because the way PlayStation describes it is that it's part of the PlayStation family, the ecosystem.
Yeah, the family. They specifically said we're welcoming it to the family, as in this is part of our
next
brand
to our
now,
game studios and everything. Yeah, exactly. And it's it's weird, yeah, like I said, because you think of it and you think about how like I said, like I find this better than Evo going away, because yeah, there was a lot of concerns last year after what I would be like, is Evo just gonna die and they're gonna have to rebrand it? Is it gonna be like, is it just poof gone because they don't want his legacy? Like, who are people gonna want to fund the event, sponsor it? It's like, yeah, now to at least have PlayStation, we know that a lot of companies are gonna be willing to let that event, you know, pass by and stuff. And yeah, it's like, again, let's start getting into the specifics before we like get it. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the first statement by Evo, and then you can read the PlayStation one, then we can keep going off from there. Okay. So I'm gonna read the first message by Evo. With Evo would not be possible without the collective passion and collaboration of the fighting game community, and we are deeply grateful for your dedication over the past 25 years. We know last year was challenging due to the pandemic and the circumstances surrounding the cancellation of Evo Online, involving a former team member who has been completely separated from our company. We want to reaffirm that harassment or abuse of any kind has no place within Evo or any of our future events, and we're taking every precaution to make sure members of our community will always be treated with the respect, dignity, and decency you deserve. In order to deliver on the trust you all have put in Evo, we realized that we need an experienced strategic partner who truly respects the spirit of the FGC. This is why we're excited to announce that Evo has become part of the joint partnership of Sony Interactive Entertainment and RTS. The new partnership is committed to bringing amazing tournaments and competitive gaming experiences back to you this year and beyond. We're thrilled to work with the teams at PlayStation and RTS to bring you Evo 2021 online this August. More information on the event will follow. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you and your continued support, Tony and Tom Cannon. So that's the Evo. That's like their official statement.
Sort of the announcement that a lot of people first saw, and there weren't really any real specifics on what games or etc. will be there. But I really appreciate the message about we're committed to the community and we're committed to the safety, because I think a lot of people's biggest concerns following all the events that happened were like, when the in-person events, I mean, obviously it's going to be online for the foreseeable future, but when in-person events return, what is going to be done to make it safe? What are the measures they're going to take? And this, to me, feels like PlayStation would never back something like this if they couldn't ensure, like, hey, like, let's make sure that the community is safe. Let's make sure no shit goes down at these events. Like, they are going to have that shit on lock. So this, to me, feels like they are actively working for solutions in order to make spaces safer, which I think is ultimately what everyone really wanted out of everything that happened.
And I wonder if, because they say, we realize that we need an experienced strategic partner, so it makes me think that they go to PlayStation, you know, like did they approach PlayStation being like, hey, you guys, you know, you understand Evo, you like a lot of times the console you guys use are PlayStations, you got games like Street Fighter 5 and all these exclusive, would you like, you know, to fund us, and ultimately, you know, the tickets you make and the money you make will help fund other stuff, etc., you know, like there's definitely a possibility that they approach PlayStation, because again, like, if you think about it from their position, obviously they're not going to go to Nintendo. Obviously they're not going to go to Xbox.
A million years, and that's actually a good point that you bring up, because like PlayStation consoles are pretty much the standard console that are used at events, like for multi-plat fighters at least. Like even if the fighter is on Xbox, they're running it on PlayStation anyway. In terms of like multi-plat games. So yeah, like I think between, you know, PlayStation just having the resources, I think they also will be like, well, you like, again, like you know, PlayStation can now provide the consoles, provide the setups, and it's all there, and they don't have to sort of go externally to other sources, you know.
Exactly. And so then what did PlayStation say? What's because PlayStation also
they have a pretty extensive article, and I don't think all of it is necessary to read, but there are some really good notes here. So first off, they're saying that you know, the Tom and Tony Cannon, who are the co-founders, they're going to remain closely involved in an advisory role to make sure that it keeps supporting the FGC. So they are working with the co-founders with the community's sake in mind. This is not going to be like some full corporate Sony only thing now. You know, it's not going to be like, oh, only Sony fighters. No, they are working with these people specifically to make sure that the interests of the community and the community is kept safe. The next note is the lineup. So they have said that it's going to be online only for this year. It will happen in August. They're going to have Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, Mortal Kombat 11, and Guilty Gear Strive, and that's all that they have said for now. So who knows if like those side events, you know, maybe we'll get Skullgirls. Who knows? Like they said, notice that there's no Smash, but we're gonna get into that like later, because there's a specific reason for that, and there's other like thoughts about that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And then it says that they want to preserve the authenticity of Evo. So again, like they are trying to. I feel like they're in a position where again, like they want to sort of integrate. They want to give it the support it needs without taking it over and letting the co-founders know what's best. And here's the most important part, in my opinion at least. We want to voice our support for Evo's message today. So that's the one that you just read. About creating a safe and inclusive environment for all players. At PlayStation, we've made that our highest priority. As a collective team, we'll work closely together to ensure future Evo events are safe for the entire community. So again, they would not, again, PlayStation would not have sponsored such a thing if there were still ongoing concerns about safety at these events. And it seems to me that whatever Tom and Tony Cannon and PlayStation came up with to keep people safe in the future, it seems like they are in agreement on what they should be doing. So I really hope that whatever they have planned gets applied to just events like blanket gaming events, right? Like that's what I just want to say. I want to make sure that like shit that happened in the past does not repeat itself, basically. Yeah,
exactly. No, like reading from the main two statements, basically, like I feel like, because I've been to Evo and I've seen what it's like, to be on the show floor, to see all the different booths, to see all the stuff. It's like, I don't think there's a world where like I walk into an Evo again, there isn't like little booths playing, Skullgirls, or like a new anime like Fire that's not out yet, or like, even the, what's it called, like all the small like, or like older games like Street Fighter 3, like I just don't see that just going away. I think that'll remain. I really just think the only difference is funding, and like there's gonna be like a big PlayStation booth where like you can play like whatever the general next big PlayStation games are coming, just like regular cons usually have that. Like I think that's gonna happen and stuff.
So important to note. So because of, obviously that when you hear Sony buys Evo, your mind is like, oh wait, well shit, what happens to games that aren't on PlayStation? Is that allowed? Is that what's gonna? And that was my initial response too. Is like, well, is Sony just gonna be corporate and be like, no games that aren't on our console? But to my surprise, and honestly, I'm very thankful. Mark Mann, he is the business developer for Evo, and he said that it's important to note that it's still open to all platforms. Like again, your Killer Instincts that are only on Xbox, or your games that are only on Nintendo or only on PC, or etc., they will still be there. In we don't know what capacity, but they're still going to be there. They're not going to just kick out all these other games. So they are working with the best interest of everybody else involved.
Yeah, no, like that. Yeah, that was definitely the first like okay, like that's a good clarification. Like they knew, right? Like they knew, and they did. So like, look, you guys cannot take away parts of FGC and stuff. Like if developers want to opt out, that's on them. But like if we're gonna do this, you have to agree that anything's fair game to show up here. You know what I mean? Even
and it tells like, to my knowledge, I feel like even as far as stuff where it's like, oh, you can only play this game emulated, etc., or like it's it's use of emulation. To my knowledge, at least, like I feel like I don't recall any cases of like Sony being particularly harsh.
No, they're not,
in my opinion. So I feel like maybe that stuff will be sort of like side events or downplayed because there is like the legal stuff that you do have to consider. But like I feel like that Sony in particular is pretty chill about that stuff. So I feel like that's also another thing going forward, is that like this is not like someone who keeps like an iron grip on their IPs.
Exactly. Well, I think also like the big difference is like PlayStation's games are really like realistic, right? No one's out there making a God of War fan game, an Uncharted fan game, a Sly Cooper fan game. You know what I mean? It's like their games are much more like, not obviously Psycho, but it's like a lot of the games are they're big 3D realistic stuff. They weren't the pixel art air, like they're not like, no one like it's easy to make a Pokemon fan game because it's sprites, it's top down stuff. People make platformer ones because of Nintendo. It's like it's easier for fans to want to always do that for Nintendo stuff, which is why Nintendo has like such a big eye on it. Whereas like, how many times have you ever heard of like a PlayStation like fan game?
Yeah,
it's so rare.
I guess you're right. I was sort of saying in the sense that like, there's games like, the older Marvels where it's like, yeah, people can play on arcade cab, but like some people like, if you're going to play it online, you got to emulate it online, use Parsec or something like that. And it doesn't seem to me like Sony is someone who like targets that sort of thing in any capacity. what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I would like, let's say like alternate universe where PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was a big series and you could play it online. I don't think like if there was like a Slippy mod for PlayStation All-Stars, I don't think like Sony would go after it because I just don't think they care. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I totally get that. And so like just base. And so once we got these statements, everybody just right away being like, so what's gonna happen with Smash, right? Because obviously Smash, I mean, it's a big deal, right? That's such a big part of the FGC.
First off, it's important to note, like I said, like when people saw the lineup of games, and I don't know if that's just the base lineup, if they're gonna add more, if they're gonna have side events, because they were gonna do a Skullgirls thing like initially. But like so basically when everyone saw the lineup, everyone's like, there's no Smash. And right now, it's hard to say the true reason. Now, obviously, the main reason that right now, as far as I'm concerned, is Smash. If you remember, Smash Ultimate was not online for Evo 2020.
No, exactly,
Evo 2020 was online, and it was not on the lineup because the online experience just doesn't translate to big online tournament play. It doesn't work. It's slow. It's not as responsive, et cetera, for all the reasons we talked about. So, Smash not being in 2021 Evo online. That's not exactly. That doesn't mean anything because it wasn't there last year either.
Yeah, exactly. You know when it wasn't in the lineup, I knew I'm like, this isn't because of the it's this is specific because it's online. It wasn't gonna be there last year either. So I mean, like obviously we'll get to Nintendo statements, but like that was let's read Nintendo's statement so we can then just go and talk about all this, you know.
So in classic Nintendo fashion, it's very vague.
Of course,
it doesn't really mean anything. It says Nintendo has enjoyed engaging with fans at past Evo tournaments. It's a little, okay, whatever. They've enjoyed engaging with fans at past Evo tournaments and wish to show organizers the best with their new venture. We will continue to assess Evo and other opportunities as we plan for future online and offline events for Super Smash Brothers, and that's it. So obviously, I feel like when Nintendo says we enjoy engaging with fans, they like the free publicity. I mean, it is free publicity. They don't have to do jack shit. All the organizers are doing it. All they have to be is like, you can play our game, sure, wink, wink, and then that just promotes the game by proxy. And then they say, we will continue to assess Evo and other opportunities. So obviously, Nintendo has its own. They have their own tournaments.
Yeah, they have their own tournaments.
It's not like a circuit where it's like a Capcom Cup. It's just sort of like, here's a fun online tournament, and there's items, etc. It's like, it's so far removed.
It's not the same,
But like, it's there. And then, they say we will continue to assess Evo, which, like, what does that mean? Like, we were involved with Evo prior, so what do you mean you're continuing to assess it? Like, I don't understand. Again, it's very vague, and I would not be surprised if it just was a thing where it's like, Nintendo's not gonna verbally say, no, you can't have us at Evo, but they might just be like silent, and then nobody knows what to do, and they just can't have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like here's like the weird thing is like because we're gonna have 2 years in a row of Evo online, even though we didn't have one last year, it causes a weird thing where it's almost like because it'll feel like it's so long, maybe by next year Nintendo's like, okay, we're just out of this. It's like I said, when I first saw it, it was really weird because I forgot for a second the whole thing of like, it's like, because even though PlayStation is allowing any platform, would Nintendo, I don't know if Nintendo wants to participate in an event hosted by PlayStation.
Nintendo and Sony really have never been on good terms. Historically speaking, if you go back and the shade they throw at each other, and they try to screw each other over in the past, etc. Like they have never been on good terms. So I feel like I said, this PlayStation and Sony acquiring Evo could be a targeted putting a Nintendo on blast. Like, look, we're supporting our competitive communities. Why don't you step up and do it? And I feel like Nintendo, even though okay, here's the thing. Nintendo benefits from Evo with Smash, but they don't need Evo in any capacity. They don't need. If people don't realize Smash is bigger than competitive scene. It's way bigger. Nintendo appeals to such a broad casual audience with Smash, and that's the majority of Smash fans. And they need tournaments for exposure. Like people forget that. Like it's nice, it's free exposure, free money. But they don't have to. They don't need to.
No, I mean,
in this case, I feel like this is not a case of Sony being like, we can't have Smash. This is a case of Nintendo being like, oh, Sony's involved. Sony owns this event. I don't know. We're gonna do our own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, unless I don't see a world where Nintendo's like, we're gonna help you guys make money. Like, I just don't see that. I haven't seen that yet. Now, again, you could say by proxy, like, a Joker isn't Smash, Persona 5 is exclusive to PlayStation, you know, like, so they're not like totally like they're not totally against like doing moves that ultimately in some way benefit PlayStation. So that's the one thing that makes you go, okay, like, it's not impossible. But yeah, I don't know if they'll want to. And again, like I said, by next year it will have been 3 years since Nintendo's at an Evo, and which by that point do they want to be or not? And again, like, it's like I said, I just it's a hard situation. It's hard to tell what they're gonna do with it and what they're, because yeah, like you said, it's like Smash is bigger than anything. Like, in 2.5 years, Smash is already by far the best-selling game of all time. Like, I think Street Fighter 2 was it for like at 15 million units, but like Smash right now is like at 21 million units, and it's still growing.
Evo needs Smash more than Smash needs Evo, because every single year that Smash has been at Evo, I feel like they've broken viewership records, or almost always have the highest viewership records.
No, so I think
Evo needs Smash more in terms of publicity and views than Smash needs Evo. So whether that means that there's going to be some sort of, you know, maybe Sony and the Evo organizers, maybe they're going to desperately try to arrange something once in-person events come back. They're going to desperately try to arrange some terms with Nintendo at all, if Nintendo will even listen. Like, again, like, you know, if Nintendo is petty enough to go after someone using an online mod to just have nice netcode for their game, they are definitely petty enough to pull out of an event because Sony owns it. Like, 100%, right?
Absolutely.
It is not above them to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, because I'm looking here, like, Smash Ultimate closed out 2019's Evo in style by setting the record for highest peak viewership at an Evo event with 279,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch. So obviously that's just Twitch. That's not counting like YouTube streams and everything everyone else is watching. So yeah, it's again, Smash is a big deal, and that's why it's so frustrating. It's like Smash. We live in a, like, Smash is the only time the #1 fighting game in the world isn't treated like that competitively. Like, that's why it's a little frustrating, right? Because like it's like it's an unbelievably rare case. There's no case of a massive like selling fighting game that doesn't have some big tournament, some big circuit, some big like you know, support and all that.
And nowadays it's like almost part of how companies market their games.
Absolutely.
Like, this is competitive. We're having a tournament scene for this game. You want to hop on. You want to be the best. You can compete. Anyone can compete. That's like a big selling point for a lot of modern fighting games. Is how much tournament support do you have?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Nintendo
like,
doesn't care. Like, their tournament support is what you play some random games online with items, and you get what, like 200 gold points on Nintendo eShop? Like, what in the world? Like, people compete in them because they enjoy playing Smash. Like, that's
so good.
Like you said, so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and it's what was I saying? Like, it's like fighting games. Like, it's like, I mean, we're at the point where like developers like announce their DLCs at fighting game tourneys because of how important it is to them. You know what I mean? Like again, most notably, super fun. 2 weeks ago was the Dragon Ball Fighting Hour thing, and it was just like a long Dragon Ball tournament. Again, everyone at the end of the day was expecting a trailer, and we got a trailer. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like, it's no longer a foreign thing to maybe get a trailer at a fighting game tournament. It's like, it's the norm. Now, granted, we've never gotten what's it called? Nintendo announcing. The closest we got was when they announced a Smash Direct. What event was that again? There was
it Frostbite? It was definitely one of the bigger Smash majors, and they said, "Hey, there's gonna be a Smash Direct on this date," and I think it was in regards to the Direct that revealed. I think it was Incineroar or whatever. I think it was that.
It was the pre-launch one, I think.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, but yeah, that was the closest they ever had to making an announcement at an event. Like, again, like, Nintendo is they sort of know that they don't have to invest in the tournament scene because it benefits them not to, but they know they get free publicity from it anyways. You know, so
it was in August. It was August 2018, so I think it was Evo 2018.
It definitely was before it launched. Yeah,
it was August 2018, August 8th, 2018. So it was definitely
Incineroar wasn't like that. It led into the Incineroar Ken announcement.
No, this is the Richter Simon one in August.
Oh,
this is the
okay,
Richter
okay,
Simon
okay.
one. Yeah, Ken Incineroar one was the last one in October, like right before it was launching. Yeah, that's that one. Yeah. So that's the one it was. So basically, yeah, the point is that was the closest Nintendo ever got to an announcement at a fighting game tournament. So again, it's like that they're not again, they do like, you look at like also like the original Switch trailer, right? And obviously people like to make the joke about how like the end of that trailer was like a giant like tournament, like arena filled with people playing Splatoon. So like Nintendo's not oblivious to the idea of having a big event, you know, for their competitive games. You know, they've got Splatoon 3 coming next year, and I'm sure they're gonna want to like push that competitively too.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like, it could be because, again, you know, they're very vague. It says we will continue to assess Evo and other opportunities. So what does and other opportunities mean?
It could be like also other tournaments.
In my opinion, it could be maybe Nintendo sees Sony doing this with Evo, and they're like, well, following everything that happened with, you know, the Smash, you know, scandals and everything that came out against community members, maybe Nintendo saw that and they're like, maybe we need to do our own thing and make sure our own players are safe and make sure fans are safe, and maybe we need to put together something on our own terms to make sure people are protected. Like, it could be like, that's the positive outlook, right? We could be negative and cynical and be like, oh, Nintendo's just, you know, they don't care. I mean, and there is an aspect of it. I mean, and history has said that they are like that, but there is a positive outlook here that they're like, well, Sony's doing this. Maybe we should try to sort of engage our community. Maybe we should try to make a safe space for these events. Maybe bring in players, maybe do it on our own terms so that we can have complete control over it. Because again, Nintendo's about control. They didn't like Slippy because they didn't control that mod. They don't control Melee anymore. Maybe they do their own events in the future, and you're like, hey, this is a Nintendo. This is part of the Nintendo, like, you know, road to championship. And it's like this event, these events Nintendo is at, and you can compete in these events and be a Nintendo champion. And they'll like sanction the event, and they'll have like, you know, the safety requirements and the equipment. Maybe, I mean, that's like the ultimate positive outlook, is that they have some sort of they
have a big revamp.
They step up their own circuit, you know.
You know, I'd love to think that, hey, next year, because of Splatoon 3, they're like, okay, now we're ramping up on our own tournaments. We're gonna have Splatoon 3 competitive. We're gonna have Smash competitive. And we're gonna do our, like, again, that's the positive outlook. Like if anything, maybe they're like, okay, now that our competitor has taken over Evo from us, let's just do our own thing, which again could be good, you know. Again, the other thing is maybe, like I said, like they can flex and they could be like, hey, yo, we are bringing Smash to Evo, you know, next year, and it'll do crazy numbers, and ultimately we're gonna sell more copies and stuff. Because it's like I said, it's hard to read the room on what they're gonna do, because again, their statement is like, it's just the typical, like, it's just the PR statement of like, yeah, we'll see what happens, basically, because we also don't know how much of a heads up they had for this. Like, maybe they found out that day, maybe they found out a month ago.
I don't think Nintendo would have been aware of this mumbling. It's not like they really care about the community, and it's all about Sony.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sure that this was as much as a big announcement to them as it was to the rest of the community.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge right now what will happen. And again, we aren't going to see any effects of what will happen. I mean, I can't imagine until at least 2023 when there's actually like big in-person events again. Because I feel like for at least for this year and next year, you know, it's going to be all online still. So we'll have to see what happens when stuff actually comes back for real. You know what I mean?
I feel like next year is when you see local limited. You know what I mean? Where it is like, it's local, but you still have the stuff like, you know, wearing the mask and like, you know, and sanitizer.
That you were vaccinated.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like that's the good thing. Like this year is basically like recovery year, you know, with people getting their vaccine and all this stuff. And then next year, like later in the year, we could probably hopefully see events come back. But yeah, no, like I said, it's this is a big deal. It's gonna change a lot. It's gonna hopefully it encourages Nintendo. Again, I mean, there's obviously a bunch of other events that they can still go to and have and stuff. But yeah, like I said, it's frustrating because right now, again, because of the state of the world, we just don't have many Smash tournaments aside from in Japan occasionally. Like, and I miss that. I want to see a Mithra and Pyra at a competitive event again. You know, I want to see what the fuck someone can do with Steve at a competitive event. I want to see how these DLC characters are doing. I haven't seen a high level play character in so like. What the fuck are people doing with Mario nowadays? You know, with Joker, it's been so long.
And like you have your pros that are they're still streaming content regularly and they're playing online. But every single one of them will tell you like online environment is not the same.
Exactly.
You can't do the same things.
Yeah.
It's not the same environment like to them. And to them it's more like now it's like we're playing online just so I don't lose my basic skills. But I'm not getting any better playing online, etc. Like they need that competition. So it's like. Yeah, it will be really interesting to see what happens when events do come back. Like, again, I really hope the biggest thing that comes out of this is whatever Tom and Tony Cannon did for Evo that made PlayStation so sure that, like, hey, we're going to make this as safe and as clean and as protect as many people as possible. Whatever they have planned, I hope that plan gets sort of adapted into events in the future.
Yeah, that's the number one thing
that I want to see out of this. And
for sure.
My only other thought is, of course, jokes aside, it would be super funny to see if PlayStation is like, you know what, let's do another All-Stars Battle Royale. Let's see
oh my God, yeah.
Because I feel like maybe the fact that they're disinvested into the fighting game community, they don't really have their own exclusive fighting game IP. I mean, they have the games on their platform, but they don't have their own IP.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be like, hey, maybe we could try this again and do another All-Stars Battle Royale in some capacity.
Yeah, like
people are memeing about it, but I feel like the opportunity is still there right now, especially because there's so many amazing Sony exclusive characters that have happened over the past like 10 years since that game came out initially,
Yeah, I get it. It's just so funny because it's like it's funny how like Joker is in Smash, Cloud is in Smash, Snake is in Smash, Sephiroth.
There's these Sony IPs that are there.
Like what would you do? Like would you still have those, or would they be like, nah, we're sticking to that? It'd just be funny to see. But like, no, it's like I do think maybe what's it called, like PlayStation has some sort of new fighting game IP, whether it's All-Stars 2, whether it's something completely different, or again they're just gonna keep making sure they get exclusive rights to a lot of fights. Like okay, Guilty Gear, like maybe like just they'll probably like I feel like it's not out of their own possibility that whatever if they make Persona 5 Arena or Persona Arena, if they just want it to be like every Persona franchise character could be in there, like that's PlayStation and PC only, you know what I mean? Like it's like
I mean, even though the previous Arena games were cross-platform, I definitely see like Sony being like, hey, like we want to invest in your game, we want to make sure we want to make it best on our console, so make it exclusive. I mean, that's exactly what happened with Street Fighter 5. Street Fighter 5 is PlayStation and PC only, and Sony gave them a shit ton of money for that. So we'll see. Like again, it's what I think is nice is that at least for the time being, even we don't know what Sony actually has planned, if it goes past just, acquiring the event, if they have plans to invest in more fighting games, which they have in the past. But at least that now it's like your concerns of like every game that has been at Evo can still be at Evo. It's just a matter of if the companies themselves still want to be at Evo.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. So like someone said this where it's like the FGC goes where like Street Fighter goes. Like Street Fighter is like the heart of the FGC. So like any tournament that goes there, that's where a lot of like the other game companies are gonna flock. So yeah, and I obviously it's like I do think unless like I really think Street Fighter 6 when it's announced probably next year, because we know they had the whole shift up and stuff, that it's gonna be again PlayStation exclusive. It's gonna be announced at a PlayStation event, PlayStation exclusive, coming to PC, and that's gonna be it for that. And they're just gonna make sure that's the biggest deal. They're gonna fund it. Hopefully, obviously, they learned, and now that they have PlayStation money for it, they can ship it in a better state. But yeah, no, it's definitely a big deal. I'm very interested to see how it just shakes up Smash, how that goes, or again, other Nintendo shit that comes out. Like we don't know if like they'll do a Pokken 2 or whatever. What happens with that, or it's like there's a lot that can be custom.
I think what Harada has said is like, we are always open to doing another Pokken. It's just a matter of is Nintendo and Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, are they all interested in making it happen? So again,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the door is there. I do think that this is, past like the initial, like, what the hell, I think, reading into it, when you see the statements that are being made, this is ultimately a very positive thing.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, how the only elephant in the room is, of course, Nintendo. Like we said, it's the only major elephant. I don't foresee anyone else really having an issue with this going on right now besides Nintendo.
Yeah. Even if Xbox, like, if Microsoft bought this, Nintendo would have been okay. Like, all right, cool, we're buddies with you anyway. We have all these partnerships and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. It's again, like I said, ultimately, I just think for the fighting game scene as a whole, if somehow, especially if somehow Nintendo can get over the hurdle and they can just be like, you know what, fuck it, we're leaving Smash. Ultimately, this will benefit the entire FGC, like genuinely, ultimately. And I do want to say, like, there's a lot of mean people online, like very mean serious people who be like, oh, good that Smash is out. Like, look at what happened last year. So it's like, come on, man. Like, it's like we can't assume everyone's a shithead because of a group of shitheads. You know what I mean? I don't think it's healthy to have that mentality.
First off, the reason it was excluded had nothing to do with the scandals to begin with. No. It was excluded because the online is so poor. Yeah. That. And I think the Smash community, everything that happened, we have at least been the most vocal about ousting those people and getting those people out.
Yeah.
And I feel like there has been significant progress made in that regard. And just the lack of in-person events really does help that, because everybody's sort of recollecting themselves, had time to recollect. And I feel like I said, with Evo, saying, we're going to the lengths to make sure nobody's harassed, nobody's safe, everybody's safe. Because of that, I feel like, that's the standard that we're going to see going forward, because Evo basically is, for a lot of people, the gold standard of fighting game tournaments. You know what I mean? And so what they are doing, you will see other tournaments copy for the better.
Exactly. So yeah, no, we're gonna see what happens. We'll see what happens in August. We'll see what happens with more games. Again, Dragon Ball FighterZ isn't even confirmed yet, and that's like one of the biggest fighting games too. So it's like, don't count this one specifically out because Smash isn't there yet. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's gonna be it for now, guys. Let us know in the comments below what you think about this, what you think is gonna go down. How do you feel about all this? You can follow me on Twitter on the down low though. You can follow Ultima at Ultima Shadow X, and of course, we'll see you all next time. Peace out.
Peace out.